If you get paid to do what you do, you're a pro. Simple as that. Okay, that's my mark. We are going to jump in and talk about Final Cut's new setup, or Apple's new setup, which is Creator Studio. And I wanted to bring my buddy Rafael along because he makes some of the greatest tutorials on the internet about these things. He makes a really cool Final Cut plugin, which I use every single dang day of my life. Even though I switch back and forth between DaVinci and Final Cut, I still do a lot of things in Final Cut because I have the projects already there and I don't feel like moving them. And so when I'm in there, I'm always using your plugin. So thank you for that, Raf. But yes, dude, there's a lot of noise going around about Creator Studio. So I wanted to get your thoughts first.
There's a lot of complaining about Apple going to a subscription model, which just seems like more like toddler tantrums than actual complaining, because nothing is changing for anyone that has Final Cut. So just the fact that they're asking for money for a program that people have been using for 15 years for free. I can't with some of the complaining out there.
I can't either.
Especially for a program that cost $300 15 years ago, and now it's, it works out to like a buck a day or something like that, like something just crazy for a year.
When Final Cut Studio first kind of hit, okay, I've been using Final Cut since the very beginning. I think my first copy of Final Cut was $7.95. If I remember correctly, that was the price, was $7.95. And then Final Cut Studio came out, and I remember having this conversation as my brother and I suckered dad into buying it. It was like $12.99, but I think we ended up getting it for $9.99 because we bought it with the machine or something, right? But it was a box. It was like this, and I
remember the box
with the thick Peachtree books and the whole 9 yards. But even at that price, Pops would make a commercial for somebody, or, we'd go out and do some video for the store. Even just for our own store, we would make, videos that we would play on the TVs and stuff because they help sell more TVs or whatever. It was worth the $1,000 then, because if that turned around and helped me sell at that time, which was a $20,000 plasma, because, we buy these TVs now for what, $300 at Costco? Them joints used to be 20 G's, and we were one of the first stores that sold it. So even then, like, the whole point of Final Cut Pro is this designed for the pros. And, I was just mentioning to the community, the Olympics terminology pro means you get paid to do what you do. So even if you only making $100 a video, at $129, you got to make 1.3 videos in order to pay for the whole year. And if you only charging $100 a videos, you got a different problem. But I mean, like, who really can afford $129 to do what this program is going to do? And it's not just Final Cut, right? We're bringing in Logic. So why don't you use Logic? Yeah, you know what? I don't drive in the HOV lane either, but I still got to pay taxes for that.
Let me put it this way. I have the Adobe subscription, which is like $800. Typically, it's $800. It's on sale right now, so if anyone needs it, you can go get it for $42. Anyways, a month. But I have the Creative Cloud. Let me start this again. I have the Creative Cloud subscription, $800 a year, and I only use After Effects and Photoshop.
I only use Photoshop and Illustrator. Well, and Express. Yeah. So I use three. I don't use Premiere. But you know what I do have? See, I went crazier than that. Not only do I have it with that, I leave the stock part in there, and I keep telling myself to turn it off, but I have so many stock credits that even with stock, so I pay $89 a month for Creative Cloud. And I don't care because that's actually connected to the real estate side of business.
Yeah.
And we use that because of Acrobat, mostly on the real estate side of business, and for doing flyers and stuff that helps sling these homes. And so although you only make a sale every couple of months, the commission on a home in Hawaii covers that because the houses here start at $1 million.
So it is already worth it for me to spend the $800 a year on Creative Cloud, even though I use maybe a tenth of what is available for it.
Same here.
It really works out to an hour's worth of my work or less to just pay for it a month. So if I use it for an hour, it's already paid for itself. Like that's the way I think about it. And like if people are complaining about $129. My subscriptions for my professional work out to over $3,000 a month.
Yep.
Or sorry, a year. Let me not a month. So I spend about $3,500 a year on subscriptions. I have Maxim One, which is Cinema 4D and the gamut of all this stuff. I have Adobe Creative Cloud. I have numerous other subscriptions.
Motion VFX, Design Studio with the other two plugins I just added. The 3D. So Motion VFX plus the 3D add-on because I wanted the upreser, the new upscaler that they got.
Yeah.
So that came out to what, $52 a month? So 600 bones.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me canceled. I recorded a video early this morning, and this is the thesis of the video. That I believe what Apple is doing right now with Creator Studio is the best thing to happen to Final Cut X since the transition from 7. This is by far the best step forward for the Final Cut community. It's going to show anyone that buys it, think of it this way. It's going to show appreciation for the developers of the Pro Apps team that, yes, your stuff is valuable. You don't have to keep working for free for us as you have been for the last 15 years. I am going to show my support and open my wallet. I don't even need it. I'm going to buy into it because I want them to know like your work is valuable. And I want to show Apple that it is worth developing. I want more developers to come in and make it even better. I want them to leapfrog ahead of the other guys. Like the complaining about $100, $120, $129. Geez, like stop it. Like it's just I hear crying. Okay. Caveat that if you only use Final Cut Pro to, edit your home videos, this doesn't affect you. You don't have to complain. Nothing's changing. You're not going to buy the premium content anyways. So what's the difference? Like Adobe and Adobe and Maxon, which are two huge companies that I use all the time. They have no choice but to be expensive in their subscription because they only sell software as a service. Where Apple and Blackmagic, they're able to subsidize a lot of their software through the hardware that people buy. Like Apple is one of those unique companies that gives away so much stuff for free. Every year we get brand new OSs for Mac OS and iOS for free.
No updates. Not like Windows. When Windows update, you got to pay for it.
Exactly. So it's like so much stuff is being given away for free. These computers last a long, long time. Yes, they can crash out hard when they do. I experienced it myself. But that was more of a backup failure
you back your
than
stuff
an
up,
actual.
Raph?
My stuff was already backed up. I have redundant backups.
The comments was so funny. How come you don't back your stuff up? I'm like, he did, dude. Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I've been in this industry for 23 years. I have everything back up. I have redundant backups. It was the backups that failed me. So now what? Now what's the comment?
Yeah.
Oh, well, still Apple sucks. It's like, get out of here. I'm going to keep using Apple. I know how to drive the car. I do not want to know how to fix it. I have no desire to move to PC. I could care less. Sorry, I couldn't care less. Anyways, so getting back to Final Cut and this Creator Studio, I think is a fantastic idea. I hope Apple adds more stuff that is premium based that is a paywall. Yes, I want more people to be like, force them to start using the subscription. So then Apple then doubles down and creates even better stuff. Utilizes all the AI stuff that they have built in on machine. I don't want to be sending stuff to the cloud so it can get processed by AI stuff. I'd rather do it on the machine because these things are powerhouses. I think I'm excited. I'm excited for where this is going. It's like they have to pay and justify their developers to keep developing on this thing instead of having no return and just hearing people complain. It's like finally they'll be able to do the keyframes, all these things, because they're going to show revenue coming in. They haven't shown revenue coming in for 15 years.
On Final Cut.
How else are they?
And so you said something right now that I believe is very valuable, because you yourself, and I call you out because you're my homie, but you yourself and a bunch of our friends and other people that we know have said Apple is falling behind. They need to get this transcription stuff correct. They need to get beat matching correct. They need to get some more AI tools to come in that help us edit videos quicker. It's like we use Gling, right? I'm using AutoCut right now, which doesn't even work with Final Cut. I have to use AutoCut and DaVinci and then render the project out and then bring it back in Final Cut to polish, which is really stupid, but this is what I do. And as soon as Apple said, okay, you know what? In order for this to happen, we need to hire some folks. And so they acquired a couple of companies to hire some folks, and people wanted them to hire them folks for free. Now, the same people that say that are not doing work for free. Because, well, why do you need such an elegant tool? And you kind of covered this, which I didn't hear anybody else really say. You say, if all you're doing is just cutting stuff for work or cutting stuff for YouTube and not doing anything fancy, you're really using it as a cuts-only page or an offline editor, so to speak, and you're sending the content like that, yeah, you definitely don't need this. And you probably could even go back to iMovie or just use the free version of DaVinci or just, get the basic, $2.99 Final Cut or $1.99.
And that's only if they went with Final Cut 12 becoming a whole new, like if they said Creator Studio, brand new, you get all this extra stuff. Final Cut 11 that's where it's going to live. It's only going to get security updates. No, they're not.
They're still going to update it. Yeah.
It was just like the last couple of days, I wasn't going to make a video, but it's like the crying. I couldn't believe how people are like, no, I need my free stuff.
Yeah. And so I was going to stay out of it like you as well. But, so it's almost like, going to buy a base model car or get in the car with the features. If you're a base model person, AM radio and pleather seats, knock yourself out. You can still do that. But if you want that premium, that SE model, that deluxe model that does something, or it's got the 4-wheel, you don't have to get out and lock the wheels anymore. You just hit a button. You're going to pay a little bit of extra. And the funny thing is, the minute that Apple gave, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you what you want. But in order to make this sustainable, we're going to have to charge you $12 a month or $129 a year. Oh, and by the way, it's technically kind of like $2.20 because if you happen to have a family, you could add them to it as well. Even if they're only using Pages and Keynote and Freeform for school so they could do better presentations, you're going to tell me you got them kids and you're not ready to kick in $12 a month so they can get their homework done prettier? I don't know.
Or if you have kids that are going to school, you can probably sneak in under the student plan.
But the student plan doesn't have the family plan. The student plan is $2.99 period, which might be fine.
Matter. I'm saying if you have a kid that doesn't need this stuff anyways, just use their account and boom, you're
100%.
Like, there you go. I just saved you $12 or $10, whatever.
Yeah, and
I'm
not condoning this in any way, shape, or form. Apple does not check your credentials. They just let you buy the student version anyway. Hopefully they'll change that because people have been getting away with it. And a whole bunch of people that are making the noise, they bought the entire suite for $199. And one more thing I say was kind of funny because I just looked at my YouTube thing on the back end reel here. One of the people who is making a lot of noise about the subscription thing, I subscribed to their YouTube channel for $19 a month. I'm going to just let that soak, bro. I'm going to let that soak in. One of the people that's making noise, I subscribe to their YouTube channel for $19 a month.
Rage baiting just for the like I said, I'm going to come out and just be like, I think this is the best thing to happen to Final Cut since the transition to
and it gives us a chance to actually advance a little quicker, because one thing I know about being an Adobe subscription, I remember I jumped in 2012 when it first went CC, and I made a video on Google Hangouts with 2 other professionals, and we got hate comments like you wouldn't believe. But since that time, the one thing I remember the most is Apple was on, like, at that point, about a 2-year update cycle. And one of the first things I noticed in 2012 is we were getting updates like every 6 to 8 months. And now we get an update like every month. And so that alone, because things are changing, the way camera companies are making cameras and the way that the raw files are ready to go pretty much like a week after the camera comes out, that's going to be key to that workflow situation. And now that they have developers, maybe they can write in the stuff that makes your Insta360 works without an additional plugin. Maybe DJI not so much anymore, but maybe they can add things that, you know, that we haven't been able to get just because they don't really have a team like that. Now they have a team. And a lot of people don't realize the Final Cut Pro team is actually relatively small. And they didn't say we're going to charge $100 to the month to the people who are making Netflix and Hulu joints. They still get $12.99 too.
So someone just made an interesting comment, and I think it's going to be very, very important for this first year. If Apple keeps it fresh and keeps updating regularly in this first year and shows that commitment to doing it, because the last time they made an update to Final Cut was what, 6 months ago?
Yep, 6 months ago.
Yeah, so if they do that, then like this is going to crash so hard. Like Apple needs to over deliver in the first year or two for it to be like, you know what? That first year was worth it. I'm going to keep this.
Did you ever work at the fruit farm?
At the fruit farm?
That's what we call it.
Sorry?
The Apple people, we call it fruit. You ever work at the fruit farm?
No, I have not.
In our book, our corporate culture book, one of the very first statements, and this comes from SP Jobs himself, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
So the fact that you said that, it sparked me because I can just remember hearing it. You know, the first day you go in and you sit down, you got your badge, you got your uniform, you got your little Apple shirt, and Steve comes on the screen and tell us that one of the core concepts of the culture is to under promise and over deliver. So
we'll see if they do that.
I believe they will be able to do that. I think it's going to go a long, long way to help them bring this app up to date. And I'm really curious about the premium stuff. Now, I have motion VFX, so I'm not going to get rid of it anytime soon. But there are definitely times where I want to put out a video. I don't have a lot of time. I just need to grab a template because it's not like an important video, but it's just a consistency thing. And so the other day, I saw Brandon Washington put out a video about the templates that are inside Premiere Mobile. Now, when I first looked at Premiere Mobile, it was like terrible. But Brandon says, oh, have you checked out the templates? And I go, yeah, I don't really like Premiere Mobile, but I'll go and check it again. So I go to Premiere Mobile and I saw a template that says add 9 pictures and then press a button. So I opened up my collection of photos from Kyoto. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. I pressed a button and literally less than 2 minutes, the reel was done. I published that reel. That reel from the Premiere template is sitting on like 2,400 views in like 24 hours. It actually performed better than the ones where I actually sat down and edited the reel. So sometimes, even those of us who know what we're doing, it's better for us to do what everybody else is doing sometimes and take one of those templates and run with it. And so if you have a short form video that you're not going to make because you're busy and you can make it while you're waiting for your burger to get ready, which is legit what happened, and then it just keeps you top of mind. And I got a lot of engagement and a lot of people commented on that video. So it's kind of funny.
I think
a
lot of people. Oh yeah, I think a lot of people are still stuck in the it has to be quality. It has to be quality. There's so many times where quantity is going to outshine quality, and it will come from doing something over and over and over and over and over again. A lot of times, like someone made the example. I don't know who it was. I can't remember. But they said it's like it may have been you. If you go and you wanted to learn how to become a pro tennis player, you can buy the best equipment. Your first 10 hits with the racket are going to be terrible. Same thing with golf. You can buy the best golf shoes, golf clubs, whatever. You're going to swing 10 times and it's going to be terrible. It's not until you get to your 1,000th swing where you're like, hey, I know what I'm doing finally. But you could have done that with like whatever equipment you had to begin with. And I think if the idea is more important than the execution of it, if you can get the idea out and if you can get it out quickly, doesn't matter if it's the best idea the best quality. Getting it out is going to be way more important. I've seen garbage videos that have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views, but the idea was solid.
The idea was
like, yeah. Though I will make one caveat to that: make sure you have a good mic. But again, Final Cut Pro is one of those things where it's like it has made me bank over the last 15 years. if I lost all my Adobe account, I got locked out of it, I would buy it again, no problem, done. I'm like, it's just worth it. But yeah, like comparatively, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars using Cinema 4D and the Adobe suite. So them coming saying, hey, they're like, please help us a little bit, show appreciation to the Apple developers. It's like, I can't. How can I complain about the complainers without seeming like I'm just doing the same thing?
Yes, that's been my whole argument. Like, I don't want to like pee on them because I understand their feelings, but I almost feel like I owe Apple, and I work there, so different. But I feel like I owe them for the last 10 years of using Final Cut because it's been too
You're just
cheap.
an Apple fanboy. You're just.
You know my answer to that
you're
question?
A simp for Apple.
100%. Like, if you see me with the Raiders, we're the last place team, and I'm still a Raiders fan. The joke about somebody being a fanboy is the dumbest thing. You will not catch me riding around in a Mercedes-Benz. I am Beamer till I bleed, Mugen, right? Nope. I'm going to do that. Like, I am okay with that, right? I'm a Celtics fan. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm an Apple fan. It's okay. The word fan means fanatic. So making fun of somebody for being a fanatic about something that they love is actually pretty stupid. You're the idiot. I'm just saying. But I think, man, listen, I'm glad you came on to help make sense of this. I really do feel like this is going to be a boon for Apple. It's going to bring a lot of things to the table. And I had even, mentioned, I was talking to Gretchen because, she's a diehard iMovie user. And I'm like, this might even make it easier for the people that have been, playing around with iMovie who think that Final Cut is big, because a lot of the AI cutting stuff and the transition stuff and being able to build off of templates will make it even easier than iMovie now. So you won't even have to be a professional. But if you need to get up to speed, I know somebody right now who can help you because he got lots of videos on his channel to show you how to use Final Cut. And I tell you what, I'm going to go dive back into making Final Cut tutorials right after Wednesday the 28th because everybody and their mom is going to be like, okay, now how do I use this thing? So,
and I'm going to update my course to make sure it covers all the new fun stuff that's going to come out. And yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be it finally feels like Apple is like, okay, let's do something about all these whiners and complainers. I was one of them. Now it feels like they're doing something. So I'm excited.
Because I swear, we've seen so many conversations over the last 2 years watching, Premiere when they first got, the sort of Descript sort of feature. I was like, yeah, it'd be so cool if Final Cut could do this. And both of us were using things like Gling or whatever to try to get there. I've tried 3 different versions of Gling to try to get there. And it's just not the same. I'm like, if Apple made this, it'd have that last little bit of polish. And I really do think that this is going to be massive. So if anybody wants to pick up one of your plugins or go and take your Final Cut course, how do they get a hold of you?
Go to enhancededit.com or even rafaelludwig.com, and all my stuff is there. All the links to my shop and the course and all that kind of stuff.
Man, I appreciate you for coming through and helping me do this. I was like, I want to do it, but I want to make sure that I don't say something crazy and make everybody mad. Not that I care, but I really just want people to do this.
I'm going to make people mad now. Yeah. Anyone that complains about Apple doing something to make the developers worth their salt, no, get out.
I would say if anything,
I'm not talking to you guys.
Learn to if they say, well, they're charging too much, they're making too much money. Maybe you should learn to model them. Maybe you should learn how to run business the way they run business. And honestly, I did a lot for running my own business a little bit like that after I left the company. I actually keep some Apple-oriented things in my business as well. And I think it goes a long way. It really goes a long way. So I appreciate them. I appreciate my time that I lived there and I worked there. So for me, I'm stoked. And yes, I will wear my Apple fanboy badge proud as hell. It's kind of the way my buddy Rich in that Cowboys thing. We won't talk about that, Rich.
Me and you both.
All right, fam. Aloha.
I need to know everything. Who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats to turn to a ghost. I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.